Welcome, everybody. We're getting started. We're loading in here, getting Shaman Derek into the room. I am Latanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, and Profits. And so, listen, my tongue is twisted because I'm double dipping here, trying to do a little tech support and getting our brother in place here. He is supposed to be joining us in just a few moments. And so we are talking today the return of the medicine men and women. And we have a very special guest that's joining us today who is a shaman. And if you've seen my most recent post this week, I actually shared from a powwow that I attended in Indian Springs. I wish you all could see how vibrant and pretty my purple feathers are, but maybe I need to turn on some more lights in here. But this conversation is so important right now. We're talking Diddy and we're talking all of these things when it comes to what's happening in the pop culture, and it absolutely brings nothing additional into your life. But this show topic is a taboo topic because many of us have been made afraid to talk about and to be about things concerning our ancient practices, and also remembering our ancient practices and bringing those ancient practices online and back into our really our spiritual journey and our spiritual work. So we absolutely have forgotten how to do what many of us is organic for us to do. And so we're going to talk plant medicine and other sacred ceremonies such as sound, drumming, chanting, all of the healing. And when we say plant medicine, we're not just talking ayahuasca, right? Some people want to know more about ayahuasca and psilocybin, and some people want to know more about THC. The world is changing. So some of the information that we have out here, many of us have been made to, it's been demonized. And all sacred plant medicine is medicine. All sacred plant medicine is a way of healing. Even if we're talking about the thyme and the oregano and the spice, what we call spices that we use, all of it can be used not only to ingest as food, but to call on and pull on sacred forces of nature that we communicate with. And so when we talk about being able to communicate with this, then you got to know the chants. You have to know the timing. And so the person that ushers you into the state of consciousness to be able to do this sacred communication or dance is the shaman, the medicine man, the priest, the priestess, the babalaos, the whatever the names are that we call them by. And so today our brother just entered into the room, and so I want him to be able to tell you more. I want you to get your questions ready, because we don't always know that there are shamans and medicine men amongst us who look like us. And many of our young people, Gen Z, are returning to these sacred practices, and they don't even know why they're returning, and they don't have an escort. I want to introduce you to an escort today, a spiritual escort, one who has done the work, the training, and he has several letters behind his name to prove it. He also is a drum maker. I actually am in line to get one of his drums. He's a businessman. I actually been wearing some of your scents, like it was my sacred scent every ceremony. It's time for me to get some more. So I want to introduce to some and reintroduce to others Shaman Ra. I call him affectionately Shaman Derek because his last name is Taylor, like mine, and I think he has to be a cosmic cousin. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, and welcome to Shift Talk.
Well, thank you. I'm happy that you're allowing me to come on and talk, because what you're talking about with shamanism and actually medicine men, medicine women, is something that we really need to tap into and help people to understand, because this is something that I've been doing probably almost now since 2000, maybe 2005. And I've gone through many different levels of studies and understandings to get to where I am. And it's not just a certification that you can take to become a shaman. And it's like, oh yeah, you're just a shaman now. Um, to become a shaman is to actually be led by spirit and understand how the spirit is leading you. And you have to understand, when you're dealing with spirit, there's many different spirits out there. But I just want to tap into more about me. It's I've been doing this for probably since 2004, and I started off with meditation. Meditation was my medicine, and that's what I teach people now. First is meditation. It's conscious understanding. It's conscious clearing of your own mind. And once you begin to start with that conscious clearing through meditation, you can connect into other parts of yourself, which are other parts of the universe. So this is just kind of a backstory of what I do and who I am and how I work. So when I talk about medicine, medicine is you. You are the medicine, and teaching you to understand how to unlock your own medicine. Now,
Yeah.
there are other medicines that we can tap into, and we can get into that as well. But for me, to let you all know about who I am a shaman that's been practicing for a good while.
Mhm.
And the medicine that I use, the number one medicine I use, is your individual power. It's your self knowledge, it's your self love, it's your self realization, it's your self understanding, it's your own awareness to who you are. Once you begin to tap into that, you understand what energies you're bringing in to actually be guided. And sometimes the energies that come in are not the right energies to guide us, and they are worker spirits versus being benevolent spirits or your specific spirit team. So just want you all to understand a little bit about that when it comes to who I am. And
Thank you. I appreciate that. And tell me, did you come from a bloodline connection to shamanism, meaning,
mhm,
you had people in your family who did some form
yes,
of, okay, you
mhm,
did.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely. My
Okay.
great great grandmother was a medicine woman, and she was known to help people, and they were indigenous, so they were full-blooded Indians, and that's where my line comes from. It's from the Native Americans, and from there it goes into my father's line. Well, that's my mother's side. My father's side was African and European, so it's more of the Creole, and they come from Louisiana. So there was a whole nother level of what they were doing, and that was one of the things that my grandmother did that I understood, but I never met her because, fortunately, my dad is 99. So by the time that I was born, she was long gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got a little bit of goosebumps because you just talking about your family history sounds very, very familiar. And like, no joke, we really are Taylors, he and
Hmm.
I. And so when I saw his mother said to me, I don't know if you remember this. She said to me, "Baby, we got to sit down and talk." Your mother told me that,
Hmm.
and
Oh
we
yeah.
have not sat down and talked. And here I am sitting down with you. But I got to tell, just remembered that your mother said that to me.
Hmm.
So because
And
my grandmother was also a medicine woman, but she didn't
mhm,
call it that, and I didn't know she
right.
was the first one who peace and blessings upon my gold. That's what they call her, gold. And so she would tell us to look at the almanac. She would tell us when to
Hmm.
cut our hair. When you woke up in the morning, my grandmother would be outside every morning before the sun came up. And so, but most of the time, if you woke up early enough, Granny was outside in the garden, or she was
Hmm.
picking something or doing something, then she come in. But she was the one to tell us who we were, that we
Right.
were Choctaw, and the history. Of course, I didn't know to ask all the things, but I really credit it and see it through my grandmother, and I suspect it through my mother's
Hmm.
line as well. So I like to put that context, Shaman Rob,
Hmm.
because a lot of people are tapping into something and they don't know how
Right.
or where they began, and
Exactly.
because so many people have been through religion or institutions made to be afraid of
Mhm.
what is ours
Right.
already.
Exactly.
And so that's why I wanted to ask you, so how can a person who's listening know that they're listening for a reason?
Well, everything is in synchronicity. So anyone that is listening to the show, you're supposed to be here. And that's just how the alignment is happening now. The veils are becoming very thin. People with like-minded consciousnesses, people that are on a path to raise their consciousness into higher levels, we're beginning to come together. So if you're on this show, if you're coming across this show, then this is something that you have to be listening to, because we're talking about medicine, medicine men, medicine women, and the number one medicine is you. And you have to understand that when you're able to tap into your own frequency of your medicine, which is sound. And that's why I make the drums. That's why I play the flutes. That's why I play the keyboards. That's why I play so many different instruments, because it's all about sound and the frequencies. Every frequency has a vibration, and that vibration is sending out into the universe. So the note that I'm vibrating now will send out to those notes that are looking for this frequency, and they'll begin to
Yeah.
attract to it. So that is the medicine. And that's, now there's other medicines too. Like I said, we can get into that as well. But the
Yeah.
first medicine is you. And your
Yeah.
medicine is the vibration that you're actually emitting. And it takes practice to do that. So what I help people to understand is self-mastery. When you self-master yourself, when you master yourself, you begin to understand that note. And when you are in alignment with that note begins to attract to you everything that you need. But that note also is vibrating out, and it's going to attract everything that it is. So we have to remember that that note is going to attract everything that it is, and you're going to begin to bring things to you. Then we can tap into understanding free will, and free will is making a choice to call in a spiritual being to help you go the way to the place that you want to go to. So,
And I love you went right there, because there's so many entry points, and you
mhm,
even talked about, these portals that are open. The
right.
veil is thin. There's so many portals open, and people are having experiences, and just because you don't know what it is and you
Right.
attach something to it. I'm gonna give you an example. Right before I came on the show, I was talking to someone who was going through something, and in the middle of me talking to them, I immediately knew that it was a spiritual attachment. So
Mhm.
sometimes people come to us, and they're having a life or earth experience, and they think, and it's easy to go back to the comfort zone and listen to the ordinary people, right? But
Mhm.
when sometimes this stuff that's happening, just happening to our mental health or our
Right.
relationship, our spiritual attachments. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah,
Because
for
you
sure.
a
And
couple of times already.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's when we talk about medicine, medicine opens the door. And again, medicine can be music, it could be meditation, it could be plants, it could be many different things. It could be the environment that you're in, but you open doors. And when you open doors, then you're in a space that are going to be occupied with spirits that are equal to that vibration. As soon as you make a choice to do something, you solicit one of those spirits. So if you're in a lower frequency place and you're in a bad mood and you decide that you want to say, you know what, I don't like this person, and I'm going to talk negatively about them. I'm going to wish ill things on them. Well, as soon as you make that choice to do that, you just solicited a spirit to work with you. Now, that spirit is bound to you at that point. So it's going to work until it finishes. Now, that spirit that's going to create that discord is not a benevolent being or not a benevolent spirit. So you have to begin to understand whatever your mood is, whatever your vibration is putting you into the space that's going to be filled with that same frequency of spirits. And those spirits will attach to you when you call them. Now, spirits can be attached in many different ways. And that's how a lot of people will actually put spirits on other people. What they do is they begin to find your frequency of vibration, and they find the lowest frequency, and they solicit an energy that is part of that lowest frequency. And they begin to say, hey, go help this person out. If they're in distress or if they're in anger, then they want distress. So you give them distress, and you can send a spirit to a person as soon as that person engages with you. So there's many things you have to think about and understand. This is why we don't need to engage in negative conversations with people or altercations, because when you engage in an altercation, you're opening yourself up for them to attack.
Oh my goodness, so much here. Um, This is so good, because you said, it can be a benevolent spirit that's coming
Mhm.
to assist you, but it can also be one that feeds off of you, which is what we know that they do in the collective consciousness. They get
Mhm.
us to be afraid and distracted and worried and fighting about race and fighting about
Right.
relationships and
Mhm.
putting stuff on the blogs. And so are you all familiar, that's watching, with the term loosh? Loosh. Are you all familiar with the term loosh? So when you hear people who are doing medicine, men and women work, tell you not to be distracted, it's because you're like a battery.
Mhm.
And particularly you, melanated people, your mitochondria DNA is something that when you go into fear and fear consciousness, it becomes loosh. And other people who are from other bloodlines feed off of your energy. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there for those who are saying, no, you don't know what we're talking about. You don't know you're a battery. Let me tell you, Shaman Ra, I have been watching Lovecraft Country. Maybe you and
Uh-huh.
I can do a decode, because there's so much in that
Yeah,
show.
there
We can
is.
Maybe we can do that later. But Lovecraft Country, remember the scene when Hippolyta had to open the portal, and
Mhm.
Tick was asking her, well, how you gonna do it, and how you gonna do this? And she said, I am the motherboard.
Exactly. Yeah. And she opened the portal. And that's what we have to realize. We're all motherboards. We just have to learn how to unlock that ability within us. And that's
Mhm.
what, like you said, the melanated skin, the melanated people, we have innate powers that are just lying dormant, but we've been told to sleep on them. We've been told to basically ignore them because they're witchcraft, or they're wrong, or that's a lower vibrational frequency. When those very same people that are telling you that are probably using the energy from you, and we just have to be
Absolutely.
aware, because when you hit that,
Absolutely.
yeah, when you hit that loose, you become a light, and that light attracts, and that battery will be drained. So
Yeah.
we have to be very aware and protect our own peace. But that comes from knowing who we are, because if we don't know who we are, we can't protect who we are, because we can be moved and shifted in emotional control. My goodness, that is the biggest thing that is out there. And I'm just trying to keep it really on layman's terms to help people understand emotions. Emotions attract the energies. So
Yes,
whatever
I
your
know.
emotion
I'm
is,
with you. But I
yeah.
do want you, because there are some adept souls that are
Mhm.
watching in the comments as well. The some that have worked with me, and
Mhm.
some that are practitioner themselves. So we can go in and out, we can break
Okay,
it down.
sure thing.
So I want to talk about a few things. The moment that you talked about sound, the on the breakdown and on the lowest level, we can talk about the grandmother who used to
Mhm.
just sit and rock and moan. That's
Right,
sacred sound. She was
right,
calling, she
hmm,
was cutting cords, pulling
right,
down
hmm,
strongholds. That's the
yeah,
sacred sound. Come on, y'all. Tell
yeah,
us in the comment if you had a grandmother that would rock and moan or rock and sing, if you're
hmm,
watching on Instagram. If you all know about that, come on. So let's break it down to the deacons on and the mothers on the mothers board when they would chant those sacred
hmm,
hymns. Y'all know I love to chant a sacred hymn from the old church, because my consciousness, I know now what I'm using it for. Nobody's
right,
using it for on me. Okay,
right,
so now let's go higher. Now
hmm,
you all get higher when you listen to the choir. Or how many of you all are from the HBCU culture? And
hmm,
baby, it's nothing like the bands. Or you from
yep,
New Orleans, like my family, and you know about the brass band culture. We're talking sacred sound, y'all. Drop
yeah,
it in the
definitely,
comments if you come from a culture where that drum beat, that's there is a sacred sound. Now let's go beyond the sound, those sounds that we've known, and this is where Shaman Derek can talk to us about the chanting, the flute, the drum.
definitely. So
Mhm.
one of the main things that you want to think about is with sound is first is your voice, because it's always with you, and the chanting begins to become purpose. Your intents, certain chants mean certain things, and you begin to chant at a certain frequency, and you open up those portals that bring in those spiritual beings. So chanting is very key, because when you chant, not even just chanting. Chanting is good, but when you chant, you actually want to allow yourself to go into what we call a trance. When you go into the trance state, that's when you make the connection. That's when you leave your physical body and you actually go into the spiritual realm. And that's something that chanting allows you to do. Drumming is the same way. There's certain frequencies, certain beats, certain rhythms that I'll play that will literally put you into that trance. Now, how can someone learn to put someone into a trance? Through their voice, or through drumming, or through playing the flute. It is beginning to become that note that takes people into higher consciousness. If you're of higher consciousness and you focus your intent on taking somebody into a trance to find their higher consciousness, you become the music. Every sound that comes from your lips, every breath that comes out of your body begins to emit that note. Just your presence will emit that note, and people begin to understand and just say, wow, you know, when I get around you, I feel so relaxed. I'm at peace. What's happening is they're feeling the note that you're playing. Then when you actually put sound to it, audible, then that begins to connect with the brain, and the brain says, this is something that's actually physically happening. I'm going to align with it. And then those frequencies start happening, those rhythms start happening, those beats per minute start going. And what happens is you go out of the conscious mind, you go into the unconscious mind, and you literally are bypassing the critical thought pattern, which is everything we learned every day through the five senses: the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the smells. That is the five senses. And we tend to forget we have the sixth sense, which is our ultimate sense. So definitely it's some beautiful, beautiful information for people to understand about music and sound, chanting, singing, that emotion that goes behind the chant, that joy, that power begins to bring the energy in, and the emotion starts to raise, and you literally just go into a trance. We'll be sitting in drum circles and playing loud cadences, and people literally just fall over and go to sleep. It's because they're actually in trance, because they're actually feeling the rhythms, you know. So it's very important for us to understand, as medicine women, men and women, that our frequency is the frequency that emits through the actual instruments. The instruments then amplify it because they become audible. So that's something that is really key. And if people want to understand more about this, read the book called The Mysticism of Sound by Hazrat Khan. And
somebody put that in the comments for me. I'll capture it on the screen.
yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful book that helps you to understand. He really breaks sound down to the minuscule molecules and helps you to understand, okay, you are the note. You are the note. And your note is what emits through all other instruments. Instruments are just parts of you that allow you to amplify the chanting, the drumming, the flute playing, the musics, the frequencies, the sound bowls. All that is just you. Notice how if you go to one person's sound bath, you feel euphoric. You go to another person's sound bath, and you just don't feel the same way. It's because the energy of the person is actually being emitted and vibrated out into the room through the different utensils and instruments, the tools.
I definitely want to pick up on that, going into the sixth dimension and other dimensions. And I wanted this would be a great transition. And I appreciate you, Sister Kia, for Hata Nashoba. Kia Hata Noshoba. I hope I said that right. I really appreciate you saying, I went to a drum circle before. Our drumming broke the veil. And I was the only one that heard thousands of ancestors singing.
Yeah, you can hear them. It's when the frequencies, when you get on alignment, you literally start hearing angels sing, ancestors sing. And it's so interesting. When after one of the initiations I had, I was actually in a drumming class, and all of a sudden I'm drumming. I'm looking around at the rest of the drummers. I'm like, do you all hear that? But I didn't say anything because I was like, man, this is something that I'm aligned to at this point. So the drumming anywhere will open you up. So yes, it's very possible.
Yeah, that the drumming is it for me. And on so many levels. In any ceremony, whether I have the assistance of plant medicine or not, the drum. And so certainly now, as an initiated priest, and if there are any initiated priests who are watching, bendición to all of you who are watching, who are priests, let yourself be known if you want. Who are watching, we know about the drum and the sacred drum. In fact, in the Lukumi tradition, you cannot even dance in front of the drum unless you are initiated. And if you dance, and if you get too far, we get too excited in ceremonies in the bembe, and we let somebody who's not initiated, it's a possibility for that energy to take over them, and then they have to be initiated.
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
drumming.
So that's what they're called anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You call them in. And the funny thing is that the drum, I didn't know this until I was working on Fix My Life, and we were going to do a show with some drummers. And so as a producer and coach, I had to study the drum. And I said, no wonder I'm attracted to the drum. It is the mother. It is the womb. It is, I didn't know it was feminine.
It's the rhythm of the earth.
I didn't know it was feminine. When I found out, it was just like, particularly the African drum, you know,
and think about this. When you talk about the drum, you talk about Mother Earth, you talk about the rhythm.
Yeah.
It's sound. What are the sounds of earth? When earth starts making its sounds in the morning or at night, those are frequencies that begin to heal. They begin to shift, and they begin to bring you into higher levels of consciousness. They will awaken you. And so when you're beating the drum is the heartbeat of the earth, and we're earthbound beings. We're also spiritual bound beings as well, but we're earthbound beings, and this is our first understanding, our first knowing. Yes. So when we begin to hear the drums, we begin to align back into our conscious self, our higher self.
So now let's talk about the assistance of the plants in our sacred ceremony, coupled with the chanting, coupled with the drum. And in any tradition you're from, I asked for the priest in the Ifa and Lukumi tradition. I said bendición to you all, but I'm saying bendición to any of you practitioners, because you represent those lines. Drop those lines if you're watching in there. Even if you are a Mardi Gras Indian from New Orleans, that's a bloodline to acknowledge. I acknowledge that in my culture, right? But all of them have some form of plants. It's very difficult to do this type of work.
It's so many. It's so many. And
it's a whole kingdom, right? And
exactly.
And in Lukumi, the plant medicine also is an initiation. And I know in native traditions, to work with the plants, that's a whole separate track and specialty.
Completely. Yeah.
But let's talk about the ones that now have taken off and more people are doing it, like ayahuasca and psilocybin, which is the magic mushroom for many of you all who don't know what psilocybin is. But I want to give it a dignified name, because people use magic mushroom to go out to the club, and we're not talking about that.
we're not talking about that. and that's what I tell, there was a little short I did on one of the social medias. I say, don't do mushrooms with your friends, because you got to realize these are sacred plants. And let's talk about ayahuasca. Let's talk about the psilocybins. These are two very powerful plants. So you have the mother, the grandmother, which is ayahuasca, and you have the children, which are the psilocybins. The children are very lighthearted. They open you up to things, and they allow you to see pathways in your mind. Whereas with the grandmother, she teaches you, and she is a grandmother. She's full of wisdom, and she helps you understand what you want to achieve, and she helps you to achieve it. Now, this is the thing about any medicines. Medicines will take you into a space, but the medicines have to have intentions. So you literally have to set your intentions. When I'm doing ceremonies with people, I will literally spend almost 10 to 12 hours with people setting intention. The intentions, when we speak them out loud, they become prayers, and those prayers go into the universe. Remember sound. Our voice, our throat chakra begins to emanate that vibration that goes out into the universe, saying, this is what I want from the plants, because the plants are hearing it because they're part of Earth. So we have to understand ayahuasca is a very strong plant. It's from South America. And, in order to even initiate to that, it takes about a year to a year and a half. And you literally stay in the jungle and you work with ayahuasca every day. I've done dietas with it before, which are like 3 weeks where I'm actually drinking tobacco and drinking ayahuasca every day so that my body can emerge with it so I can work in it. But I'm still not initiated to actually serve. I work with another medicine man that actually serves, and I actually serve the tobacco. I am initiated into tobacco. I also do wachuma, and wachuma is another one. So wachuma is the grandfather. So when you're looking at the grandfather, the grandmother, and the psilocybins, the children, you're looking at a very powerful combination. I just threw the wachuma in there because people don't know about that one, but that is a 12 to 14 hour journey. So ayahuasca is going to be 4 to 6 hours. but this is a 12 to 14-hour journey that you're on, and it opens your heart. Purely the masculine energy that opens your heart, and it's very powerful, very beautiful energy. It's, some people have the visuals and some people don't, but you just feel your vibration and you feel emotions, and the medicine just keeps working through you.
And I've recently, and we have to also, I like to also include THC in the family, because it is in the family of medicines, and
it is.
Some of you all can experience THC and go on a journey. I mean, I'm not gonna call anybody else out.
You know, it's okay. Got to speak the truth.
but THC and also hape is another one. So can you talk about those in relationship to others?
Sure. But let me finish up on the ayahuasca just real quick. The ayahuasca is something that you have to set intentions with, and you really need to do that in a sacred place, because any medicines that you're using, those medicines will adopt the energy of the space that you're in. So if there's a low frequency energy, you can actually pull the low frequency energy up from the plant, and it will begin to work in someone. So those medicines, before you do them, you really need to vet the people that are using them and the reasons that they're using them, because they will amplify any direction.
Did you hear what he said? If you listen, before we even go into more, this is not a DIY. I don't care who's doing it.
Right. Say it again.
I don't care how their marketing is. Shaman Ra, let me tell you a story about that.
Oh, I can believe it.
When you know who you are. We were living in Costa Rica, and we're going to get back to the other ones, okay? And I see your comments, and I'm going to grab your comments. And I was ready. Ayahuasca was calling me, because some of you all, you know, you're hearing the plant call you. You're hearing some, if you're saying, what's that? I want to do that. So she's starting to talk to you. And around me were my sacred sisters who were going to the plant, getting messages. And so I'm living vicariously through them. So I'm living in Costa Rica, and I'm ready. I'm in proximity. There's shamans there, and I wanted to do ayahuasca. So one day I call myself getting ready to go, and I'm just going to do it. And my husband pulled my coattail. He said, "You going to do what? With who?" No, ma'am, you will not be doing that, because when your spirits come, they can't even handle them. They don't even know them. And those people who are doing those ceremonies are doing them for another reason. Some of them are doing it for commercial, and some of them are trying to clear their bloodline spirit attachments. And when you rush and do those things with other people, that stuff now can attach to you.
Right, exactly.
That was the best thing that he ever told me, because they were people who didn't look like us, and they weren't like us, like us.
Right, definitely. And that is so true. You have to know the shaman. You have to know the intention of the person, what they're there for, their integrity, because their energy is working with it. When I tell you this medicine, when it aligns to your consciousness, you go into the universe and you start to understand the oneness of every soul. And you literally begin to align with each soul that you're working with. And every soul that you're working with, you begin to see their past, present, and future. And as you're seeing their past, present, and future, you're able to actually work with them to help guide them through the journey. And you're doing it through the ayahuasca. So the ayahuasca is coming into you and it's connecting you to them through the spirit realm. And then you're actually able to see everything that's going on with them in the spiritual realm. And you begin to help to heal them according to the intent, because the ayahuasca speaks to the shaman and says, this is what we're doing. So I'm also initiating to hape as well. And that's one that I use to open before we do the ayahuasca ceremonies. And then we close out with the wachuma ceremonies. But they're very particular about who you're doing medicine with.
And now the snake medicine is even becoming popular. Snake venom.
Yeah, snake. And there's so many different medicines that are out there. The medicines are just part of earth that help us to align to that version of vibration of ourselves that need to open up. And the medicines will help us open a lot faster than meditation or chanting or drumming, because they're a plant and they go directly in and they alter the consciousness. And so when we talk about THC is another one that alters the consciousness. It opens you up to a wider range of perspective. And that's a good system, a good medicine to use, because you begin to connect into the universe. And again, when you put intentions into the plants that you're using, that's when you begin to actually get the benefits that you're looking for. It's all about setting the intention and asking the plant to open up. And then you have to know what the plant's job is. So you understand what ayahuasca
about
is.
to ask you about that.
You have to understand, what is THC for? What is the energy usually for? What is it done? What's its essence? How was it grown? Who was it grown by? Is it chemical? Is it not chemical? All these things. Is it synthetic? Is it real? All these things you have to understand, because the hybrids that are out there of medicines that will mimic what the true medicine does, but the true medicine comes from the earth. And remember, we talked about that vibration of the earth, which takes you back to your original state, your original vibration. So when you do the THC, it opens you up to a higher level of consciousness. In that consciousness, you can begin then to focus your intent on, what do you want to understand for your higher self or your higher consciousness? What do you want to bring in from the collective? Because now you have access to the collective, and your vibration begins to send links out to maybe hundreds of thousands of souls, and then they begin to download the information to you. So understanding that, and the rapé I love, that's my medicine. It's that sacred tobacco.
Really?
That is my medicine. It's the sacred tobacco. It cleans. Its job is to ground you and to clean you. It goes into your body, and that tobacco takes everything. It's a very strong masculine energy.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know. I think I did had done hape right before a ceremony where I was leading praise and worship, and we almost lift the roof.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It'll take you into another consciousness.
It was so grounding for me, and it's very gentle. It's very, very gentle. I'll never forget my very first ceremony was life changing. That's when I met the mother. Through psilocybin. She's mine. That's the one where the mother works with me. And that's the one. I no longer get the call to the grandmother right now. Right. Psilocybin works with me. And when I met the mother, she cleared years of deep seated, the word that I can say is when you crave something. And for me, I was still having a conversation around motherhood. I've never shared this publicly, and certainly on any platform with anyone. But I feel so embodied in this season in my life. I like all of it works in my work, so I don't mind sharing this. But she cleared the years of even deep-seated subconscious attachments to why I had not had any children, and she answered that question and cleared all attachments to that, so that I could be clear on the next most appropriate steps. And I'm telling you, Shaman Ra, I have never walked more intentional in this work with women, particularly calling the hearts of the daughters back to the mother.
Right.
That is, like, when I say it, I still get emotional.
Oh yeah.
That's how powerful it was. And the way another one, my other shaman friends, because I got shaman friends. Y'all better shaman friends.
It's good to have a lot of shaman around. Trust me.
My shaman friends explained it to me and they said, what happens is many of us have calcified pineal glands.
Right.
So when we try to do the work, we have resistance and subconscious trauma and all kind of things. And when you do the plant medicine, it gets you behind that hard decalcification. It removes the veil of the ego that tries to control ceremonies, that tries to worry about how you're supposed to show. It takes it away. And then you get to meet the real you, the holy I am. So those of you who talk about the holy I am consciousness, all plants. That's why our diet matters, and the use of herbs, and women knowing how to put something together. Y'all are blowing cinnamon at the first of the month now because y'all seen it on TikTok. Now
hey, but let me tell you something about that. Be careful with that, because just because you see it on TikTok, somebody says blow cinnamon for X, Y, and Z. Well, the average person is going to do what? They're going to blow cinnamon every day, all day. But when you're blowing that cinnamon, you're opening a portal. And if you open that portal too wide, the duality of the positive and negative come in.
You better teach in here
So
today.
you got to be very careful. If somebody says put 3 drops at the altar of oil, you put 3 drops, because that's going to open a door, and you're going to learn how to control what is coming behind that door. You put 5, 6 drops in, that door is going to be too open, and you're not going to have the skill set to actually control it. So do what you're supposed to do. All these people that want to make up stuff. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do that. Do not do that, because like your husband told you, when your ancestors come in, can they handle?
That's right.
So when you open that door, can you handle what's behind it?
Yes.
And that's the thing.
So listen, they are talking to us in the comments. We got to catch some of these questions, because I want to make good use of your time. There's so much more to talk about. No, he didn't say no cinnamon blowing. He said you need to know when. It's the time you blow the cinnamon, it's how much you blow this. So it's that kind of thing. So this is not like this is why we should have godparents and shamans and different people who are working with us. But I want to catch, our brother was talking to us a little more. I love to be a connector. This is another medicine man in the comments, spiritual doctor Afi, my brother who's been on the show. He said, yes, Ashe, the knowledge of plants is of utmost importance. In Cuba, we call the person with the plant knowledge Osanista. Osain is an Orisha who rules over nature. Wow. Come on now, bring it on in here, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He also said, using the wrong plants in a ritual in Lukumi tradition can literally change the path of the person being initiated, or dilute the vibration of the ritual or the ceremony.
That's so true. And that's why you have to know the plants that you're using for the ceremonies. You have to know the intention of the plants. What are they designed to do? Because you don't want to have one ceremony that's supposed to open you up and you're using a plant to protect you. You're going to contraindicate yourself. So you definitely have to know what you're doing. So go to somebody. This is something you just don't learn in 30 days. Trust me. It takes years to understand the combinations of these different, even oils and herbs, and then how you burn them or how you smudge them or how you actually will put them in water and how you can actually bury it. So many different things, but the combination and amounts are critical in understanding what they're for. You don't want to put opposing energies together.
Yes. And I want you to say that again for somebody about work, because it takes years, because we have these self-anointed and self-appointed people now who hang out shingles, and they have no accountability to anybody. Can you talk a little bit about lineage? As I grab some more comments, I want you to talk about the importance of working with people who have lineage.
Very important. Now, we're in a time where we are very enlightened and we can actually tap into things. But the thing is, it's hard for us to understand how to tap in at the frequency we need to tap in without understanding the tradition. So there are traditional things, traditional systems that are used to teach you to walk down a pathway. Like I say, I started back in 2004. We were in times of darkness in. So it wasn't like light. No, you just go into meditation. Hey, I can get this information. No, you had to navigate through dark corridors so that you could understand how to get the information and bring it back out safely. So you have to learn tradition. When you learn the tradition, when you go with a traditional medicine person, a medicine man, medicine woman, they're going to teach you, or they're going to work with you with traditions and teach you how to respect the plants. The plants are so powerful. And people don't understand them, like recreational use for certain plants. Why? Because these plants are designed to open your consciousness, not to have a good time. They're designed to actually shift you into a timeline or into a consciousness or into an aspect of your higher personality versus just to do something for fun. There's so many different things that's out there. So you have to have tradition. Tradition teaches us a specific way that is known. Now, once you learn your way, you can begin to tap into spirits. And when you learn your way, you learn yourself, and you tap into the spirits that are going to lead you with this specific plant and their specific intents and their powers. Then you begin to use that plant according to the way the plant teaches you, because the plant will teach you at that point. So it's changing from learning tradition so deeply that you become rooted into a routine that then the plant now begins to teach you. And the plant begins to open you up to something different and show you how to use it in certain ways where people have never seen. But this takes time. This doesn't happen in a day. It takes time.
It doesn't. And I see people who get initiated, especially by young priests, and before you know it, they're making priests. Now I am under the covering of 40 and 50-year priests.
Mm-hmm.
I just found out that I'm a part of a lineage that even brought Lukumi to America. I
Oh,
didn't even
wow.
know it. I didn't even know that the villages and the paths were connected, and it's humbling. It's so humbling,
Yeah.
y'all. Let me talk on the humbling to those of you feminine leaders or independent women or whatever you want to call yourself. You're not used to anybody telling you what to do. Let's just break it down to what brother is saying and what I'm saying here when we talk about lineage. These traditions are meant to be oral. They're meant to be demonstrative and experiential. It's not Googleable, whatever
Right.
that's a word.
Exactly.
Google it. And so now I'm out here doing a ritual and making candles. And now I'm giving prescriptions to people under the tarot or whatever the case may be. I know
Yeah.
this might be a little deep and over the head for some people, but this is where you got to ask the question. So I'm inviting you to ask the questions because I see the heavy hitters are in the house. I don't know how to say it, Makosi, but I want to acknowledge, I think it's Takoka. I want to just acknowledge the priests who are in the room today, okay, who are joining the conversation and adding to it. But one of the sisters had a question, and I want to catch it, Shaman
Mm-hmm.
Ra. Do you say one is better than the other? Opening slower, meditation, etc., opening faster, plant medicines? Or is it really just a matter of what path your soul has chosen?
I would say it's a matter of what path your soul has chosen, because there's not one better way. Because wherever we are right now today, our souls are going to open us up to what we need to move us into our next avenue or into our next phase of our lives. And it could be plant medicine. Sometimes you don't have the time to practice meditation, or you may be in a situation where you are constantly distracted. You could be highly stressed, and meditation is something you can't do. You could still need to go through a process of self-cleansing. And self-cleansing, if you're not self-cleansed, if you haven't cleansed yourself, then the meditation is not as effective. So if that's the case and you have a soul's calling, then you might be led to the plants. But then it's, again, using the plants according to the way they're supposed to be used, with someone who understands, that can actually read you and tell you this is what you need to be opening up to. So you want to use this plant medicine.
And let's talk about this really quickly. And I just know this as a priest. The first thing always is your ancestors, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is really developing a relationship before, but I wanted to capture Sister Kia's comment. I was raised to speak to plants. I taught my daughter how to speak to the water, the moon, the sun, and to control the wind. I absolutely love the powerful energy of water. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
sister, for putting that in the comments, because some of us are doing things naturally, and they're not under a particular title. But I say that my work is about teaching women how to become the priestess of your own household.
Right, right.
First,
And what she's doing is still lineage, because she
that's
was taught by
right.
somebody, and she was taught. So it's in the DNA. All she's
That's
doing is
right.
remembering at this point.
Woo,
So
say it
it's
again.
allowing yourself to just remember. And that's where we can awaken.
Yes.
But we have to understand that first part about who we are in ourselves before we start dibbling and dabbling, because we're expansive, we're multidimensional beings. So
Yes.
therefore we have dualities, we have so many different things. And if we don't know how to control ourselves, when we begin to talk to the plants, we can begin to talk to the non-benevolent side of the plants, or the part of us begins to tell us to use this for something that's non-benevolent. So we have
Yes.
to be very aware of what's happening.
Yes. Spiritual Doctor Afimayu says, exactly, brother. Emphasis on years. For us in Lukumi, the same herbs and plants we use for Orisha or Batala cannot be the same ones that we use for Orisha Shango.
Right.
Bitter herbs work very differently than sweeter ones.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very
So
much.
you want to
Like
talk
you
about
say,
that a little bit?
Right. Yeah. When you start to mixing herbs, bitters, and sweets, trying to do something, and you don't know what you're doing, you're diluting the process, or you could
Mhm.
actually create a monster in the same case. So it's really understanding. Again, this takes time. It takes years of study to understand these herbs, because when you take time to understand them, it's not just you learning about the herbs and their science. The herbs begin to speak to you. The herbs
Mhm.
begin to teach you. That's when you begin to really build the initiation. That's when you begin to really build the relationship. It's all about a relationship. Whenever we're doing medicines, it's about a relationship. If the shaman, if the priest, if the priestess does not have a relationship with the medicine is not going to do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you could end up hurting yourself, or you could end up doing some. I mean, I've seen some stuff, some
Yeah,
some real
I have
instances.
too over the
Yeah,
years, and that's how come those of us who have seen some stuff, we kind of laugh and giggle at those who rush to go and put it on TikTok. You know, you and I come from lineages
right.
and teachers and mentors where the power of the medicine is a little bit of the secrecy. It's
It's
not about
silence. It's
putting it.
silence.
Yeah,
Silence. It's silence. And that's, people want to know, how do you, and I'm not telling you my secrets, because
yes,
the secrets are given to me by the plants, by the universe, and they're for me, because guess what? My vibration is going to align to the secret they're telling me. Your
hmm,
vibration may not align to the technique or the secret they're telling me. They're going to
yeah,
tell you something. So you have to take your time. It's like building any relationship. If you
yeah,
build a relationship first with yourself, then you can build a relationship with the plants. And when
hmm,
that relationship is built, it's just like a physical relationship. You
hmm,
begin to work together. You begin to know the ins and outs. You know when one is in a good mood, one is in a bad mood, because the plants get in bad moods. So you have to understand, you have to work with them when they're ready to work. And it's a respectful relationship, but it's
yeah,
really taking it to another level. And like the young lady said, talking to the elements and talking to the trees. There's so much. The trees are an infrastructure, a system that's linked into the earth to everything. Their roots go into everything. And if you learn how to sit with a tree, and especially if in certain medicines, the tree will open up and start talking to you. And then
yeah.
it's like,
That's what sister just said. She
oh
just
yeah,
said that I remember the first time I spoke to a tree and
hmm,
asked it some questions, and it sent its energy through me, and it was amazing. I
yeah,
also asked the plants to lend me energy when I'm low on energy. Some plants got attitudes and say no,
yeah,
and some say yes. It's the
yeah.
truth. It's
It's
absolutely
they
the
all
truth.
have their personalities. They're all individuals. They have
Yeah,
their own personalities, and we have to understand and respect that. It's not just a plant we just pick up and boil in the water and drink this.
yeah, right.
It's not
And
that.
some
It's
plants never should touch heat. So
exactly.
how you process plants matter for what ceremony.
Hmm.
And not only that, some of us should not be rushing in to try to to put our hands on people, save people when they're
Right.
going through an experience. You know, even in the church, y'all, they tell you when somebody's shouting, and when somebody's shouting, I think Lily Wilson from Union Temple Baptist Church is on here. You know, we were taught this from the pulpit. Don't go fanning the spirit. That, you know how they rush over, the
Yeah.
usher board will
You
go rush over.
try to cool them off.
Church fan. Well, now you fan in the spirit. But listen, y'all, we are magical people. I'm loving your comments. And I don't know how many of you watch Rod Hayes. Rod Hayes was just in a conversation with B. Dale on Black Magic 363, or one of the streams. And if you don't know Rod Hayes, he is one of the chiefs on the land that has been reminding us, and this is why I want to get back to this, that we were the ones that were already here. We are native people. We are the indigenous here. We've been lied to, many of us, and told that we were shipped here. We were not, all of us were not shipped here.
Right.
And so one of the things that Rod was saying, because a lot of times he'll smoke when he's online, and I remember Brother Rich asked him, he said, so why did he say, as soon as you get ready to give us a transmission, you're smoking? And Rod was saying, yeah, he said some bloodlines do tobacco, some bloodlines do THC, some
Tobacco is my thing.
some bloodlines can do the alcohol, whereas some
Right.
native tribes, we don't do alcohol.
Right.
We don't want that in our system. So even that, you all pay attention, because your body is talking to
Right.
you, your spirit. When I got closer to initiation, I called myself being able to drink a little white, because that was my thing. Give me a little white in a martini glass, honey. And the closer I got, they
Couldn't do
start
it.
taking. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do it. My
Couldn't do it.
body would just
It
resist
rejects it.
it so
It's
strong.
it's so
And
it's like, yeah. You
yeah,
once you start to initiate, you go into a higher level of consciousness. So
yeah.
the lower frequency energies that you were partaking in, you just can't do them anymore.
Cannot do it.
Can't do them.
Cannot do it. There's certain sounds I can't even be around,
Yeah.
anymore. And
Hmm.
so I want to get some questions. So this is the time for those of you. Somebody, I think I just saw somebody say certain vodka brands. Yeah, that's right. It's a spirit.
Yeah, it is.
And
Definitely.
vodka, yeah, vodka is one, but it's not for everybody. Somebody else could, go through something else. The body
Exactly.
is absolutely one. Kia, I'm
Yeah.
glad you put that in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Kim Sean said, I am the first in my family that I know of to answer the call to our magic. I am grateful that my ancestors are leading me to this conversation like this. We are in exciting times. So this will be a good segue too. Thank you for putting that. You all are picking up what we're putting down and bringing it back so we can remember to touch on it. You opened up talking about your family being Indians, and you talked about the veil opening. So
Hmm.
can you tell me, in your work, are you noticing us remembering? We're coming
Yes.
online again. Can you
Yes,
talk
we are.
about
Yeah.
why this season so many of us and many magic people,
Hmm.
light workers, have been hidden, fallen to the back? It wasn't popular. You are the black sheep. I always say this. This is my
Hmm.
clarion call to you. The black sheep, the rejected one, the stone that the builders rejected. This is your season. So talk
Hmm.
about that, Sean.
Yeah.
Sean Ra.
And that is exactly what it is. It's time, period. The earth is beginning to shift. Back in the 80s, when yoga started becoming big and meditation was becoming big, what was happening was the consciousness was changing. And so we solicited other energies to come into the earth, extraterrestrials, to begin to help us raise the consciousness. And then souls begin to come into the earth, to be born, to come in remembering, so that the consciousness of the earth could move. If this at this last Lionsgate portal, because of the energy, we opened up to shift timelines automatically. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to shift timelines just, okay, I wake up tomorrow and things are different. What happens is you wake up tomorrow and you have the steps to now become that characteristic or shift into the timeline that you want to be in. Now you just have to take the steps. And that's one thing, even with medicine takes you to the door, but you have to walk through it. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the same thing with us. When we're talking about the veil, what's happening is there's a new earth and there's an old earth. The old earth is where we live now, and that old earth allows vibrations to coexist.
Yes.
More vibrations, higher vibrations, they begin to see each other. They begin, one preys on the other one. The other one is a victim to one, and one decides they want to be a victim, and one wants to be a predator. So all these things are happening. As the veils begin to thin, the combination and mixing of the different energies can't happen. Like vibrations will begin to cohabitate in one place, and the
That's
other light vibrations will begin to cohabitate in another place. Whether you go to the new earth or the old earth, it doesn't matter. It's purely by choice. Everybody's going to make a shift. What's going to happen is those that decide to be on a higher level of consciousness, you begin to attract people that are on a higher level of consciousness, and you begin to live this in this world. And the other
yes.
people decide to live here. And what happens is they can't even see the higher vision because they're so stuck in what their brains have been washed to believe, that they stay in this lower frequency. But right now, because Earth is being called, and that's a whole nother thing with the planet coming in the trajectory of the Earth, the planet is being called so we can actually become fifth dimensional, and we can actually become invisible to anything that's going to come and object or impede our actual trajectory around the planet. So there's so many things happening right now. The veil has to thin so that we can begin to create that new earth, so that we can begin to create a fifth dimensional earth, and we can begin to live on heaven and earth. And that's where we are right now. This is the time where heaven becomes earth, earth becomes heaven. But it all comes from the mind state. It comes from here in the mind of the heart. But most people don't know how to tap into the mind of the heart, because the mind of the heart has a lot of pain from feeling. So they block it off with the mental body. So that's a whole nother thing. I could get into that and talk about it for hours.
Listen, I didn't want you to stop, and I certainly wasn't about to stop you. But listen, if you heard or caught that, did you all catch that? Can somebody put a recap of what a piece you heard? Sometimes you'll help somebody else. If whatever part stuck with you, this helps us to digest that message that he said. If I asked Shaman Ra to repeat it, that was channeled through him, what he was saying just now.
Yeah.
And he could not repeat it in that way. So this will be a good point to rewind, watch the replay if you didn't get it, because you hear me sometimes. This is why I'm loving bringing on other voices, because you hear me and then you think, oh, that's just her. Oh, that's Latanya. But you all, this is our season, and there's a reason why you're in this vibration, right? There's some people who can't even, they don't even vibrate high enough to hold the attention of what we are talking about. So this is my last call for questions. I want to ask if there's something you heard or an experience that you've had or a recommendation that you want. This is an opportunity, because neither of us have services where you can just call and pick our heads. Neither of us have services where you can just question us down in the messenger. Neither of us. We are professionals. Many people are used to the martyr, righteous teacher model of this medicine work.
Yeah.
And we thank the medicine men and women who went before us and made sacrifices in that way. But this is not that. Can you talk a little bit why it's important for medicine men and women to stand for their value as well? Because I don't think people really understand the kind of work we're doing, the kind of soul surgery we're doing. Even when I'm working on TV, y'all see 10 minutes, maybe 3 minutes of hours and days of preparation. And Shaman Ra, you know about this.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's got to be an energy exchange. Everything is always a flow. It's a give and receive. So even back in the day, people don't realize, the medicine men and women would give their services away, but they would usually be a barter. The people that they gave the services to, they would either feed them or take care of them or work on their land or do something. And now the unit of exchange is a little different. So there has to be energy exchange, because you have to buy in and invest in yourself. If you don't make the investment in yourself, then you can't expect the results. It's kind of like if you give somebody $100, they'll expect you to keep giving them $100. But if you make them work for that $100, they're not going to hold their hand out. They're going to learn how to work and do things on their own all the time. But there's an exchange. So if someone gives something and there's nothing given back, then that's a drain. That's your battery being reduced. So how do we keep our batteries full? We receive. We have to give and we have to receive. Now, some people have really high prices and some people have really low prices. That all depends on the individual and whatever their soul is aligned to do and to be compensated for. But there has to be an exchange. The exchange means you are invested. And I've noticed over time, if I give something to someone, they look at it and they sit on it. I'll do it next week. But if you actually make an investment in that, you're going to pick it up. And I find if I charge somebody $50, they might do it. If I charge somebody $1,000, they're going to do it. And the next thing you know, they're moving into a higher frequency. They're moving to a higher level of themselves.
Absolutely, because the preparation to get the money, to get to the ritual, to get to the ceremony is all a part of the ritual. It's all a part of the medicine.
And
how you do anything is how you do everything. If you have lack consciousness about how you move towards something you've been called to do, if you think it's all about the money, that means you don't trust and you're not ready yet. And so it's all a part of the ritual. And if we don't have an exchange, A Course in Miracle calls it a thief, because now you're taking from my energy, and this is where we get martyrdom for
Mm-hmm.
those of you who are practitioners. Now, I've seen some questions and they're coming in so fast. I want to catch a few. We're going over, so bear with me if you watch the show. Those of you who stayed your hour, and I appreciate it. I thank you. But we're going to close out with some meaningful dialogue in terms of questions here. So here's one from Lilani, who says, "How to heal mother and know my grandmother." What do you mean, how to heal mother? How do you heal your mother? How do you heal a mother wound? Or how do you know your grandmother? Are they here on this side or are they on the other side? Can you rephrase that question for us so we can ask, be answer much more succinctly? Okay, here's another one. How do you know you're under the proper teachings for your spiritual gifts and journey?
That's a great question. Um, we talked about the body. The young lady said the body is a system of giving you information. There are 5 systems that I use to help people to understand if you're teaching or if you're learning the right things. First, you have to understand who you are, that mastery part. There is the mental aspect. There's a mental system, there's a visual system, there's a body system, there is a sensation system, and there is a emotional system. Those 5 systems are in your physical body. Something is going to come to you and alert you about what's coming to you. If it feels good, it's right. If it does not feel good, it's wrong. Do not do it. Now, this is the problem. Most people don't know if it feels right or wrong, or they second guess it and they say, well, it felt right, but then it felt wrong, or it felt wrong, but now it feels right. So that is, again, that's a cluttered house. You have to clean your house. Once your house is clean, you can get clear, distinct messages. So yes, it definitely, it makes a difference.
Yes. So you said, we have another question here. Will we no longer physically see our loved ones as we shift? That's a good one.
That's a good question. Some of these things will come out in the future, and we'll get the understanding of that. But for right now, yes, because it's going to be a couple of years before that transition fully happens. But the thing is, you got to remember, if they're your loved ones and you're on a vibrational path to raise your frequency, your DNA begins to change and shift in them. So they probably will begin to pull up. Now, what happens is the density, gross, dense energies will be the energies that vibrate away from you, the ones that you don't necessarily want to experience.
Mm, wow. Okay. If there's no more questions, you all, this conversation has been rich. I'll capture some of the comments in closing. Makosi says, sometimes correction doesn't feel good, but it's love. Bitter is the medicine at times. It isn't always sweet and good feelings. Lord, have mercy.
That's 100,
Lord,
100%.
have mercy.
But
Listen, we say in Lukumi, don't be calling the Baba loud for just when you have a little upset. That's not what you do, because when you go to the mat, you're getting medicine. So
right.
you might not like what you hear. You might not be ready for what you hear, and stop mimicking people just because you think priestess is something high. I used to never mind. I won't go there. I won't even go there. Okay, so some people make the mistake of searching for spiritual house to join instead of doing what naturally comes to honor their bloodline. Okay, so let's talk about that, because there is a voice out there that says you don't need a Risha, you don't need to do ceremonies with anybody, you don't need a shaman, you don't need, maybe, I don't know that if that was a question, but that is a question for many people who are working with tarot cards, they're working with crystals, they are deeming themselves, and some of them do channel,
Right.
but I have also known people who needed to be trained on how to channel properly.
Right. And that's, I go back to this, and this, I can't stress this enough. If the house, you are not clean, you're not going to get a clear channel. And so you could get something that is going to mislead you. So it is important, if you're going to go the path on your own, have someone help you clean your channel and keep it clean. And it takes a minute to clean your channel, because when you clean your channel, then you have to get to know that channel and you have to build that relationship. And just think about this. How many people do you know that can look in the mirror in the morning and just absolutely say, wow, because of the presence of what they are? And when you can actually get to that point and receive it, or receive it from someone else, that's when you're understanding true compassion and unconditional love. And once you get to that level of compassion and unconditional love, of really seeing the beauty in you, you see the beauty in everyone else. That's when you can begin to tap into those spiritual energies that begin to teach you, because at that point, you're going to vibrate the frequency that's going to call in the higher frequency and higher level beings, benevolent beings. If you're just everyday normal Joe and you got your ups and downs with your emotions, you're going to call in those energies that will bring ups and downs. Now, those energies have a lot of great information, and they will give you forecasting. That doesn't mean that they can't forecast. That just means they might not be forecasting for the highest or best interest of the collective. So that's what
Ashe. I wanted to catch Leilani, who took the time to reword. She said, both my mother and my grandma, whom I've never met, how to align the happiness I most felt with my mother and know my grandmother through the spirit. She also mentioned a mother wound. So this is a big one. Just like plant medicine and sacred ceremonies are trending, melanated women are finally talking about the mother wound. I speak to this a lot, Shaman Rob, because it is the core of a lot of the feminine work. A lot of women are talking about they want the soft life, but they've been hardened from their
right. You can't be soft. You can't have the soft life and then you're soft. So it's maybe learn to be soft.
Yes. And so, but that mother wound is the first thing that begins to harden us.
Exactly. It does.
And so I do think this is a valid question when we start talking about the rise of the medicine women. And I will say this, that we probably should go on and do this separate show on it. Because it comes up in all of my rites of passages, all of my work. The mother is the medicine. And if you can, and the medicine that you are getting regarding your mother is a doorway. If you can deal with the medicine that your mother has been and the prescription that spirit has given you to heal yourself, there's a doorway behind that. But until you deal with that door and unlock that door, you will always come back to that door. She is a doorway, and she represents a portal. And so I'll leave it there, and I'll allow Shaman Ra to put it in his own words.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. When we're dealing with the mother and the grandmother wounds, they keep us from moving into our higher frequencies. Now, one way that I help people to tap into the energies, especially if the grandmother is not there and you didn't know the energy of the spirit, if you can find a picture, then I have you build a small altar with the grandmother. And then you start to open your meditations, you open your prayer time to actually connect to the mother. And once you connect to the mother, then you connect to the universal consciousness and allow the universal consciousness to draw into you the grandmother spirit. And when that grandmother spirit begins to come in, then you begin to get to know that energy. And what will happen is that energy will be taught to you or shown to you through different lifetime events or daily activities, daily events that happen in your everyday life. And that's where you have to begin to notice those five senses, what's happening in your body, so you know, oh, this is a sign of my grandmother. But that takes coaching, that takes practice, that takes guidance for someone to teach you how to tap into that energy. But it can be done for sure.
Ashe. Tekoa, I got you, boo. You
can also do hypnosis and go into the unconscious and tap into the DNA lineage that way. That's another way you can do it as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we are closing out. Some of you have been so generous in sharing. At certain levels of ascension and rituals must be performed. Self-initiation has its place in developing your devotion to the practice. That's very true. Because if you're not practicing and doing anything, you want to jump into practice, honey, I'm still trying to catch up to the things that's required of me now that I have to do.
Look, I say I'm a newborn at this and been doing it for 20 years.
Okay, I know. Like I like my initiation is recent, but I was on the path for years
Yeah.
before, and it needed that. I needed that. I didn't know that I needed it, but anyway. But traditions are passed down and must be done by a qualified healer, priestess, priest, shaman. Yes, Ashe. So we're closing out with your beautiful comments. You all are welcome. I'm glad this show was good for you. Spiritual Doc Afimayu says the mother wound has disconnected many women from Mother Earth. Yes, thus causing a disconnect with the medicine within. Y'all
Yeah.
are dropping it like it's like, wait a minute, I was supposed to do this earlier for Shaman Ra. Come on, press the hearts, put the claps if this has benefited you. Please let him know how this show has served you. I saw some of you old friends who said I'm not normally on YouTube at this time. I was supposed to catch this show. That's the point. That's the point. The maternal relationships are divine. BB says that the show is fire. Okay, thank you so much. We could go on and on. There's levels and chambers that we didn't open. I want to give you the right to close out the space, Shaman Ra, with any of the work that you're doing. I'm so blessed because I'm in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, and we got a lot of things coming up. We have conscious conversations. If you want to find me and find more about what I do and more about myself, you can go to my website. It's www.oraclestouch.com. That's ORACLESTOUCH.com. And that is my handle on all social media platforms as well, Oracle's Touch. So you can just look me up there and you can see some different things. I do drum circles monthly, and that's kind of an opening for people to come out and get to meet me and get to see how energy flows. So I would definitely enjoy that. And if we're closing out, I like to say a prayer in ancient Hebrew to just give everybody a blessing.
Yes, please.
Okay. Giving thanks to the ancestors, the ascended masters, the Sophia energy, the angels, the archangels, and the Most High. Iye ishe iye, iye ishe iye, iye ishe iye, iye ishe iye. Korum kola vola ya yahwa vinu hobore ita shemaime ta arx ta yambo kola sho iba. Isai anai el harim me im yakvo esri. Esri me im ya yakwa o se shemaim ba arx. Ayutain la modreaka yunum shumraka. Hine lo yanum belo ishan shumir. Yisrael. Amen ve amen. Amen ve amen. Amen ve amen.
Ashe. And do you want to tell us what you just prayed for us as we close?
Yeah, what I said was Psalms 121, verses 1 through 6. So if you want to read that, and it's calling in the known and the unknown of the angelic beings to help us through everyday life so we can elevate into our highest consciousness, to be the Yisrael, which is the original people, which takes us back into what we call Makshavaha Bitula Telarahara Livne Zehaimet, which is the original code of what we were created as. So that's
wow.
Taking you back to your original code and asking for the help of the angelic beings to be with you.
Oh, wow. And together we say Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Oh, for those of you who are watching, those of you who have contributed, thank you. Also, Shaman Ra, can you give us your Cash App if you were blessed?
Yeah, sure.
And into to his portal as well for blessing you. What is your Cash App?
It is $ Oracle's Touch. ORACLESTOUCH. Oracle's Touch. $ Oracle's Touch is my Cash App.
Listen, his brand is on point, right? You don't have to go searching for him. Oracles touch everything. Oracles touch.
Everything.
Oracles,
Oracles touch. Definitely.
Oracles touch. If there's a seed that he's planted, I don't care what it is, just go and then show some love to the brother. Go and see what services. I recommend also his drums. I was
Yeah.
getting at a Native American ceremony just the other day, and I almost got that. I said, nope, I'm getting the drum from my brother.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. Brother says Modupwe. That means thank you in
Thank you.
Ifa. Thank you so much. And so I too say Modupwe, Modupwe, Modupwe. Thank you so much for coming and have this conversation. I know that there's more
Definitely.
work for us to do. So hold on. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say goodbye to everybody here.
Okay.
And you just hold on. And thank you all for watching. If you all want to get a reading, a frequency reading with me, I do an AO scan reading that allows me to scan your chakras and see where they are. And then I combine that with the ancestral work and give you a full reading from your Akashic. And also I do the astrology and blueprint readings for you in human design. So all of these are ways for us to know what your guiding stars are telling you that you are here to do. So make sure that you connect. All of this is in the description, how to get in touch with Shaman Ra, how to get in touch with me. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll see you on the other side in the next shift talk.